good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Sue Lighthoff. For those, I think I know almost everybody here. I've been around long enough now, almost 10 years. Oh, that's scary. In terms of, and I always think my opening is, I love contests, but I don't like to compete in them. That's my sort of my tagline to introduce myself. Don't get me in front of don't get me in front. I am much behind. That's why I love logistics as well. And so this is my second year, as you, well, repeat, if you do something bad enough, you repeat it the next year. No, just joking. But I've learned a lot, and a lot that I can pass on. And again, the idea behind it is I don't expect you coming out from this to be able to go from straight on. The idea behind it is, number one, hopefully I'll bring up a few of the questions that I get year after year. And if some of these come up, you can either go, oh, I've seen that. I can have had this before, or, oh, I know where I can reach out to. So I'm always hopefully a good person to reach out to. So I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation.
Mm-hmm.
From the beginning. All right, I was able to get the subtitles to work a few moments ago. There we go. So, all right, so again, so what the idea behind it is, I don't want everybody panicking. It's to have fun with it. And so I know I like this. One is it's the speech contest, time to let your voices out. I sort of like it. It's one of my big things. So when you're doing a contest, if you think of it, and I know some of you are really good at this, if you think of it as an event planner, yes, as an area director, and I know some of you are area, some of you are division, I think contests might be one of the hardest things that you have to do. Yeah, you got to visit clubs, but there are a lot of things. So, but don't sweat it. I mean, that's what we're here. And one of the jokes, and I'm sure most people have heard, and this helps you, is how do you eat a dinosaur? One bite at a time. If you were to look and you were to say, I have to have my contest and it has to be tomorrow, well, yeah, that might be. But if you take it going, okay, it's an event. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do this, and take it and break it down step by step. It's very similar. It's also, you can think of it as project management. Event planning, project management, yeah, they're slightly different, but there's two ways of working on it, looking at it. So today we're going to be looking at the 5 W's, sort of, maybe with an H, looking at some checklists, talking about functionaries, resources, some qualifications, which are very important, and a few others. So the big thing is, and again, I know some of this is review, but the how, what, whys, where's, and having the area contest. We've already had clubs, so we're gonna, for anything that we've done in the clubs, we're gonna say, it's been done, it's over, we're moving forward. So it's a lot of things, some things we're okay at the club level that now are no longer. So most of everything I'm gonna be talking about is area and above. And that being said, what contests are we holding? Well, as you know, we're doing table topics, the evaluation, international speech, and as you all voted, the online speech. We'll talk a lot more about the online one. As we all know, the international speech is the only one that continues past the district level. So all of the other I can add, will stop the table topics, evaluation, and online. We're going to crown a district champion, and that's as far as they go. The international one will tape, and hopefully we can get somebody to go beyond and go actually to show up at the entire international convention. We hope every year. I'm going to push it. I'm doing some extra training this year because we're going to have somebody go. All right, so one of the big questions is how? Well, it's not everybody's favorite, so please don't shoot the messenger, but it was determined last year around April that all contests, again, area and above, were going to be in person. So that was international, evaluation, and table topics. No hybrid. You're not even allowed to have a hybrid meeting. It must be in person only. People can't show up. I'm sorry, this is how it's been in the past. This is per the rules. It doesn't allow for any even people visiting to come hybrid. Enough people were complaining, well, what about my online clubs and what about this and what about that? Toastmasters gave us the option. Well, I should say gave the deck the option. I'm a non-voting member of the deck, so however you decide, you can't blame me, sorry, in terms of to do the online speech contest. I'm going to go a lot more on board on the online, which is going to be slightly different than everything else, but that is 100% online and not in person, completely backwards. Ah, and here comes one of my cats. All right. So when, as I think hopefully everybody's already ready, is the area contest. You should already hopefully have a date in terms of we're going to be between January 1st and February 28th. The division the next month. So as you can see, I think we're going to have some overlap on the area. Division contests are going to be from March 1st to April 21st. That's the last date is not set in stone. So if you need something and you need a little bit of time, when I say us, Amanda or myself, know, and we can work with you. The reason we do want a little bit of time between that is it gives us a little bit of time to prep the division contest winners to get into the district. So that gives us a time to get all the paperwork together. Yeah, back to back would be great, but it gives us a little bit of time again to have that, to do a little bit of prep. Now, we also know that you need a separate date and time for your online contest, still within the area contest part of it and the division. Shouldn't take that long, but you will have to schedule a separate time because the online contest has to be at everybody at their own computer. I don't think you're going to be able to do that at the contest, so you have to have, unfortunately, another date. All right, so one of the things you want to think about if you haven't already set your location is, again, I call it location, location, and location. I know there's areas out there's places out there that don't have seating. Tamara, I know she has a spot in that they have a single office. This isn't for their area, but in terms of that's not really, we have to send people outside to when you have a contest. Oh, good catch there. Have their contests. And so you want to think about that in terms of trying to make it centralized location. You want to have what I call the extra area, you want to have it. And the big thing is to have it available, which I'm working right now on TLI in the Tallahassee area. Oh, I've got some great venues. I've found venues that are great, but they're not available. And some won't allow you to book them ahead of time or have them booked available time. So that is a frustration. And I share your frustration right now. I know you're doing it, but I'm definitely feeling a frustration in terms of finding a location. And if people may have heard, we did what we're going to call a fireside chat, where Vicky, myself, and Amanda sat down on the computer on a little had a chat about how to find locations if you're still having problems. Things such as hotels, churches, libraries. If you're part of a corporate club, you may ask your corporate club, or if you know something. One of the problems we have here in Tallahassee is so many of us, including me, are government employees, and they don't let us use our external in the afternoons anymore. So just you may have to be creative on that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so what do you need? Lectern and a podium. That is actually new this year. A lectern or a podium, and I know we usually provide it, is actually required. So plan for that. They don't have to use it. Your contestants don't have to. If they want to use it, they can, but the rule book actually says that you must provide a lectern or a podium. And the contestants, if they want, and this is for the rule book as well, have to have time with either the microphone, which I'll talk about in a moment, or getting up there. So schedule time, say, hey, do you want to get up? Do you want to see across what it looks like? Oh, yes, actually, Debbie, we are actually working on that, but thank you. Her question is, it would be wonderful if the district has a spreadsheet. Yes, we do, but a good question. Microphones, it all depends on your space. Is that if you need a microphone, there might be a few that especially at the division level, we have one that I think we could make it available to you because the trio does plan at least one member of the trio will be at each division contest, hopefully more. I'm going to get to as many as I can, and we do have some microphones. You want to be heard. You want your people to be heard, and you want the judges to hear them. So if you need a microphone, let us know. You will also have to have something to be ready. And this sounds like this should be a no brainer, but to have something that has your colors. Again, there's the basic, excuse me, get the sheets, or there's some spotlights. And there are a few, I think we have at least 2 or 3 within the division, or the district has one that can be shared and be brought around. They have one that looks very similar. I'm hoping that's the one that works. Very similar to that, where people can really see the time. Because, well, we hate when people get disqualified versus time. I hate when it happens, and usually the comment is, I never saw the timer. It sits right in front of you. Vicky's terrible. As I'm a friend of Vicky, so I'm going to make fun of her. So she has gotten disqualified when she used to compete because of time. She never sees the timer. You can put it in front of her face, and so she's the definitely do not time me. So we definitely want to make sure that we see everybody. So how long does your contest take? I always say it takes way longer than you think it's gonna take. I plan, this is just my gut. I mean, we actually measured it out one time, and it really honestly depends on how many areas you have in how many clubs you have in your area and how many you're competing. But it could take about 2.5, 3 hours for an area contest and to hold all 3. And that's considering gavel to gavel. And what it always takes time is for just the beginning, you have your pleasantries, you have your dignitaries, you have your beginning, you have time between, you have that minute of silence, you have those 2 minutes of silence. It all adds up. So that's it may take shorter than that, but plan for a while. Don't just try to shove it in there. And I also say to go in early if you can, set things up, plan for hiccups. Honestly, get there early, because here's a story that I'll tell. Is we had I think it was area, but I'm not 100% certain. It was a few years ago. We show up at the library, and I get there early. I'm always early. And I get there and they're like, what do you mean you have the place reserved? And if my division director hadn't come yet, it was division. And I'm like, I think we're supposed to have it. We'd actually been there playing the night before prior to playing it. The one was like, I don't think you have it. Panic. And I'm not kidding. We panicked. I'm calling Gloria on the phone. Well, they're telling me we don't have it. She's like, we have it. We don't have it. 15 minutes later, oh yeah, you actually do have the room. No kidding. But we had that time in our schedule. If we had tried a 15-minute over, we wouldn't have had it. And another thing I'll tell you about when you set up, everybody's gonna have an opinion. No, the table should go here and the lectern should go here. No, the lectern should go here and the judges should sit here. Everybody's going to have an opinion. You as the area director and you as the division director are the ones that are going to say, nope, this is how it's going to go. I do recommend, though, having what I call a trusted advisor, having somebody who, some people have more of a spatial aspect of it. Find that person and say, hey, I need some help here. Help me out on that one. And when everybody keeps telling you you're wrong, you say, this is what I'm doing. it can get a little annoying. I've seen it done where, again, everybody, you're just like, no, and then I was all wrong. No, this is my decision and I'm moving forward. But sometimes that's part of the leadership experience of it, for better or for worse. All right. We talked a little bit about this at the deck meeting, but how are we going to do it? So we know that some venues may have a cost. Well, we know that. It's okay. And I know some people say, oh my golly, my venue was going to charge me. It's okay. There's a few reasons. There is some money. You need to work with Amanda and Akeem on this one. There are some money that we can get you. Or you can do a few different things. So you can hold, you don't have to pay refreshments. Have people bring in refreshments. I think there's a gentleman, Julius, and I think Tamara might know him in Division H. I love when he comes to events. His wife brings the most great refreshments. It's like, oh, Julius is here, great. Or you can say, hey, clubs, why don't you help me bring refreshments? Help them, use them, they love it. We know about the trophies, we already have them. And you can always have either charge, you can charge for like a potluck, say, hey, come on in, we're gonna charge for admission. One of the big things when I say that, you can charge for admission, but you cannot charge somebody to compete. So you can't say, well, it's a competition fee. No, that's per the rule. We can't, but you can say, hey, for a small fee, maybe $5, $10, just to help us offset some information, some of the not information, excuse me, some of the some of the financial things. You can also do, and I've seen it done, 50-50 raffles. You can get creative. And then again, you can, some clubs have a lot of money. You can also, everybody knows those clubs that either brings in a lot, they have club dues and they don't use them. Just ask for them, say, hey, Club Z, you guys is there anything you could help us sponsor? Would you be willing to sponsor this venue? Or would you be willing to sponsor something? They'd be surprised. And well, I think we all heard about the decoration contest. Why? Come on, bring in decorations, because if you hadn't heard, we're having a contest. And a contest within a contest. So we're saying, so it looks really pretty. So, and you don't have to bring in, don't have to bring in any more decorations. I'm sorry, so you don't have to buy decorations. Have theme related. We know it's the dance prom at the division level. So area, if you want to have your bring in and you want to decorate, give it to the division director and they can do it. And the winner, if you hadn't heard, the winner of the decoration contest as voted by the trio. No, I don't get a vote, so you can't bribe me with catnip. In terms of, it will be a VIP ticket, and you as an area or division director will get to figure out who has it. What is the judges' criteria, Debbie? That is a great question. I think it's going to be that meets the theme the best and is the funnest looking the thing. I don't know whether Amanda and I have really gone as far as to what it's going to be, but that's a great question.
It's a contest, so it's a contest, so we have to have criteria.
I'm writing something down. It's a really good, you're making me think. Yes, no, you're good.
I want to see the score sheet.
Uh-oh, okay. Oh no, she's putting me on the spot here. Score sheet. I don't know if we're gonna have a score sheet, but I will ask Amanda what the contest is. And it will be based around the theme of the conference, which is, it's dance, but it's more dance and prom. So, and that's more of the theme of this year's conference is dancing, sort of have fun with the prom.
Footloose, I thought.
I'm sorry, yes, Footloose, yes, is Footloose in the prom type of thing. It's a little bit confusing. We're trying to make sure everybody really understands it. All right, so who's going to compete? I'm hoping you as area directors have been getting a list of the contestants, of the people who have competed and are you going to be moving on. There is a form. Okay, I'm a state employee. I love my forms. I admit it. But there is a form that they should be filling out. Ideally, it doesn't really matter. Ideally, it should be the chief judge that was filling it out, but to be honest, I don't care, as long as it gets to you and you're going to pass it on. Of each person, it has their name, their club, their member ID, which is important to know, and you'll see why. Phone number and an email address. Really good to have that information. So again, the way I look at it is, without contestants, you don't have anything. There's no contest. Now, this is where it's important. As we all know, at the club, you can move somebody forward. Yeah, we can't get anybody to compete. Somebody's raised their hand and said, I am willing to move forward. Club level, absolutely. We cannot do that from the area and above. Even if there's one contestant, you have to hold an area contest. Now that person can get disqualified based on time. I almost saw it happen last year. Oh, that was really scary. I was watching, I can't remember which division, no, it was an area, I'm sorry. And one single person doing the evaluation. And she continued honestly, all she could have stopped in the middle of a sentence and it didn't matter. All she had to meet was time. She kept going. Green, yellow, red. All of us behind it were like, shut up, just stop talking, please stop talking, please stop talking. She somehow made it in time. But so if you do know that, just tell the person, as soon as you hit yellow or red, stop talking, you're done, you finished. But you do have to hold that. So it's really important that that people are aware of that. That's one of the questions I get a lot. And so clubs need to hold their contest by December 31st, so you as area directors can get this list. One of the other questions, and I think it came up maybe from Christina, which is okay. If you do read the rule book, it does talk, in the past, we may have said, if you're of a club, or I'm sorry, an area of a certain size, you can move 2 forward. Forget about that. Is how the rule state is, if your district decides to do it, we do it. Well, our district has made the decision years ago to say only one person moves forward. So yes, it's out there, it's happened in the past, but at any time we're only going to be moving one person forward. That doesn't mean, again, the second person can compete if the first person doesn't, but each step only one forward. And they said the rules don't help you because they're a little confusing on it. All right, so the online contest, I call it back to the pre-COVID era, actually the COVID area, where we only competed online. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Anything, they can speak about anything. So if they want to speak about why cats rule and dogs drool, great. If they want to make it humorous, they can. If they want to make it tearjerker, like some international speeches, it doesn't matter. So there's no specific theme. What we're looking about is you're looking at number one, how do they use their space, that Zoom box. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the international competitors when we were doing it in Zoom, they use that space immediately, pop their head up. If there isn't any speaking area, so they were able to pop their head up into this corner and this, and they had beautiful backgrounds or no backgrounds. That's part of what they're going to be judging on. If I have a horrendous background, and we've always told you in the past, ignore their background, well, this is the time we're going to do it. And if you need a Zoom, I know some people have it. We have a few Zoom accounts in the district that we can make available. So don't worry about, oh my golly, how am I going to do this? I don't have a Zoom account that can be used, or the club account that I normally use is going to be used. Reach out to Amanda, myself. We've got accounts that you can use for the evening, for not the evening if you decide to hold it during the day. All right, I'm going to go ahead and at least stop sharing for the moment. Does anybody
I have 2 questions.
Questions? Yes, Jackie.
So I have 2 questions. The first is, did TI publish a different judge's ballot for the online? Like, you know how the evaluation or the evaluation ballot is different than international speech. Did they publish a separate one for the online, including that criteria?
Yes, they
Or-
have, and I can get that
Okay.
out to you,
So we need
everybody.
to look, I
So
need to look for that. Okay.
I'm gonna make a note of who's all here, and so I can send everybody a. You could go ahead in the chat and everybody put your email addresses, so instead of me trying to shove everything into chat at the
Okay.
end, I think because you registered, I should have it, but
I
just
can-
in
So-
case.
I can
Yeah, no
drop it
prob-
in the chat if you want me to.
Perfect.
So my other question
Mhm.
is, I know there was some discussion about they can use the same speech. So if someone is competing in international, for example, or in, what is it, humorous this time around?
No,
They can,
international evaluation, and so the only real different speech would be international.
okay, yes, because it's table topics, that's right. So, but the idea is that if somebody is competing in international, they can use the same speech for online.
There's nothing
And
to stop them. I mean, it's just supposed to be, it's supposed to be original to themselves. So yes, as long as they're not stealing somebody else's speech, yeah. Which is good and bad. I mean, as we all know, there's good and bad about repeating a speech. The judges are supposed to be, I don't care if I've heard it already. Everybody has their own opinion on that one. My personal opinion, if I've heard a speech 5 times, I may not pay attention to it, but as a judge, I'm not supposed to be doing that. So yes, they can do it. And again, remember, the idea behind it is my background I'd get dinged for my background, right? Because it's a really bad background. Maybe if I was trying to do the cat, have the cat come over. And it's also people who are really good at it. I'm not. It came out as nowhere. Well, see, I do it wrong. And then you can come really close to the screen. See, I'm not really good. I don't have a good camera for that. So that is one of the things to practice. And again, there are people who are good at, and that's where the online contest comes in, is how well are you using the box?
I'm encouraging my second runners up who for a few of my clubs that aren't doing the online, they're in person, they're just not bothering with it. I'm encouraging the second and third runners up to go ahead and compete in the online and just let their club put them up.
Camera?
I just got a couple of questions. They may be kind of easy for some of you guys, but this is my first time. So the first question is, how many judges do I need for
Okay, you're skipping ahead on me.
Okay,
Oh my
that's
goodness.
okay.
We
I
will
can
talk about that later, but great
Okay.
question.
Okay, so one other question then. Do everyone has to start in a club contest? I went to a meeting today at Uptown Toastmasters, and because I'm Area 81, I'm just they're part of one of my clubs. But do they have to compete in a contest at a club before
They
they
can
can?
be moved, the club can choose to move them forward.
Oh, we can just choose and move them forward, even though
If
they
it has to
didn't.
be done, you can't determine on January 5th. Oh my goodness, we didn't have anybody.
Okay.
If it happens, it happens, but in theory, all the clubs should make their decision of who's moving forward, whether it's by just January, I'm sorry, December 31st.
So they don't have to compete in a club
don't have to
contest to go to an area. That was my question. Thank you so much, Sue. I appreciate that.
All right, anybody have any more
More
questions?
quick question. I had always, same thing, we have a small club, so we always just nominated somebody to go to the area level, which is fine. And then I had a Toastmaster, a DTM, who said that that's fine, but when it comes to the international speech contest at the club level, even if it's just one person, that they required us to have a contest. And it's like, well, I can understand why you might want to hear the person's speech and make sure it's contest worthy, or maybe that it would qualify. You might want to give them helpful feedback as a club, but I didn't know if they technically could nominate somebody for everything else, but when it came to a speech, they had to hold a contest, even if it's just for one. I
TI
don't,
is very hands-off on clubs. They pretty much say they don't care how the club figures out somebody. It's just the big thing is if you were to hold a club contest and you do have a single contestant and that person disqualifies. So we usually have, you can have fun, you can have, as Christina was saying, have them practice their speech, but don't have them as a true contestant. Yes, Tamara.
One more thing. For international speech contests, there was a guy there at Uptown Toastmasters. However, he wasn't on his second level. You have to have a certain level to
Yep, and
compete.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna kick her out. She's skipping ahead on me.
Oh, okay, then. Okay, I'm
It's all right,
close.
but we'll talk about that. No, I'm just
All right.
giving you a rough time because I know you, but no, we'll talk about that in a few moments. But yes, there are criteria on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue on since I'm already people are already asking questions about my continue it. Okay, share screen, share. Okay, and it's going to be, let's see, I will need to see my screen. All right, there we go. All right, so functionaries, we talked about, this is very similar. So you'll really need three, some of these can be the same, but in terms of contest chair, your contest master and a chief judge, same type of thing. I recommend, so the contest chair could be you, it can be somebody else. And this is what I always say is a really good idea to have an HPL. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I can get you a new one there, Jackie. Yes, it has changed. So contest chair is the person leading. It doesn't have to be you. There's nothing in the area of contest booklet that says you must chair a contest. You have to hold one. If you want to have somebody help you, that's great. Think about, we all think and we all know we're never supposed to give a free speech or a free project. This is good for an HPL, especially at the area and above. An HPL, a DTM project. So you have that. You'll have your contest master, and that's the person who sits up there and walks the speech. Tamara did that yesterday. We do have scripts. I need to check with. We need to check. I have scripts that are available, and a chief judge. And the chief judge, and this is. Some people do it where the chief judge brings in your judges or your contest chair brings in everybody. Who does what is up to, we leave it up to you. There's nothing that says it, but I've seen it sometimes where the chief judge brings them in while the contest master. So it's really up independent. And let me see. Yep. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing real fast. For some unknown reason, it's being difficult on me. Hey, I haven't Zoomed. I don't think I've done any Zoom mastering for a while. I've lost my. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay. And the chief judge also, because I had my notes here, is the chief judge is not anonymous. So the chief judge is sort of and I call it the intermediary between the contestants and everything. And judges, so here's your question. Is judges, and yes, they are to remain anonymous. I use the term anon mouse. There's the story behind that one. Go ahead. I used to work in regulatory and where people would send in complaints about wetlands, filling in wetlands. We received a letter, this was years ago, from somebody who signed it a non-mouse. To be honest, we'll never know. Did this person not know how to spell anonymous? Were they being tongue in cheek? I'll never know. It's always been my question. So I always say when I see anonymous, I think a non-mouse. But so the question is how many judges? Well, the rule book says you either have to have an equal number from each club or a minimum of 5. So if you have 3 clubs in your area and you have 1 from each club, that meets your minimum. or you need a minimum of 5. Minimum of 5, to be honest, is great, but that's how the rule book says. And the rule book says the same thing in the division. You have to have an equal number from each area. So area, I'm going to think, because I know division H, so you would need one from area 80, area 81, and area 82. Not 2 from each, so you could get away with that, or 7 split out throughout the areas. And you also have to have a tiebreaker judge, really important. The tiebreaker judge, nobody should know who the tiebreaker judge is. So the non-tiebreaker judge is anonymous only to the chief judge. And it's really important to have that because they're needed. I've seen it, especially you get these ones and everybody's split. So what do? You bring out the tiebreaker judge as you have, they've already, and you bring out their ballot and you look at it. So what else do we need? All right, we need some ballot counters. And so you need at least 2 ballot counters.
Sue, can I?
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, can we back up to the chief judge real quick? Can you just
Absolutely.
clarify what the, I just want to make sure that I understand what the chief judge does.
Okay. So the chief judge they sort of act as, I call it, the intermediary. So there's actually no voting. If you decide as a contest chair to have them recruit the judges, they can recruit the judges. But they're the ones that if anything comes up, they're going to be the ones that anybody to the, hey, I have a question or I have a problem, they'll go directly to the chief judge. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, okay. So they just solve problems.
They solve problems. Yep, they're the ones
For-
who should be giving the briefings to the judges also.
Oh, okay.
Right, so ballot counters, we need timers. Definitely need 2 timers. You want to have one person who shows the time, whether it's the flipping of the lights, the showing of the colors, and one person to record. You can always have more. Ballot counters are fun, to be honest. My first contest I ever attended, I didn't have a clue. I'd been a Toastmaster only a little while. I didn't know anything. I was a ballot counter. I didn't have to know anything. I just showed up. To be honest, I didn't matter what the rules stated, and it was a great way to tell I'm a contest geek now. So if you have people that really don't know anything, have them be a ballot counter because there's always another person and the chief judge will be there as well. And it gives them a purpose, feels like you're part of the contest and you get to find out stuff. Now, ballot counters, you have to forget what you learned as well. For timers, again, we want 2. Sergeant at arms, you have to have a sergeant at arms, as we all know, because you don't want people coming in and out. So you'll have your sergeant at arms. This is very similar to a meeting, right? Zoom masters. So we want to have a good Zoom master for your online contest. You don't need have a breakout room or anything like that because it doesn't matter. How many ballot counters? You would want a minimum of 2 ballot counters. At the international, they require more, but 2 is a minimum number. So let's see. So I always say, and having one more functionary. Well, everybody knows out there that there's at least somebody in your area division. Doesn't even matter. You know who's going to show up. You know they're good. They know everything. I'm gonna use. I'm trying to think of who I can do. Raha. I know I'm trying to division H, but I'm not. My brain's not functioning above. They've done everything. You know, and for some they don't have a role. Keep them in your back pocket because yeah, you know every time all your functionaries show up right on time, right? Yeah, right. So you're gonna always have that and one more in your back pocket when one of your ballot counters doesn't show up, for good or for bad. I know some of them have valid reasons and some of them just don't show up. So you have that person, hey, come here, can I use you? So again, always have that person in your back pocket ready to go. It's very high. Felicia talked about that last year and it was a really good recommendation to have. All right. I got it from TI. Yeah, okay. And then so you're finding functionaries. So you're like, how am I going to find people? Well, there's a jot form out there. If you go to the division, and I will go ahead and send that to you, I'm making a note to myself, and I will send you a link. There's two. So there's actually two jot forms. I'm hoping people have already seen this one. It's been in the at a glance many times. And so there is the thing out there saying, I would like to help out. I'm going to compete. I'm a member of, doesn't even matter. I'm going to go, I'd like to help out in contests. So the people have filled out this jot form and it's out there. And then you're as the division director and area director, like, I need this. Contact me. Let myself or Amanda know that you need access to this list. Please, mind you, you'll have access to people's phone numbers and email addresses. So we trust you as directors can do it. But yes, I will absolutely give you this. And the people will have checked the box saying, I can be a chief judge, or I can be this, or I can be that, or I can be anything. So all of this information will be on the jot form. So again, reach out to us and let us know that you need help. That's why we have it. Or if you want to help somebody, put your name out there as well, because you might be being asked for it. It is going to make it. One thing that was nice about being online is you could have, okay, I'm Debbie, I'm looking, okay, I forgot that I have it, but I'll just go ahead and send that to you, Debbie. And so you could have people in different areas and different divisions help you out. It's going to be a little harder this year to get people, but use this form. And I don't know how many people are members of the League of Volunteers. I am. So have people say, hey, by the way, if you volunteer at this contest, you get League of Volunteer credit for it. I get League of Volunteer credits for giving this presentation. You, believe it or not, get League of Volunteer credits for holding a contest. I know you don't get credit for the ambassador for doing your awards, but Maria is allowing you to get League of Volunteer credits. I don't have that list. You would need to actually go on that form to get it, but you can get the credits. So that's just a good way of recruiting people. Hey, you looking for League of Volunteer credits? Come help me out. You get credit for it. Dr. Maria Martinez is amazing. And it's a great program that you have to do. And I can't remember how many, but this is, again, if you know people that are part of that program looking for points, this is a way to do it. And Tamara, you have your hand raised.
So you saying what I did last night for our contest, I can get points for that?
You absolutely can.
Being the contest master, I'll make
You
sure
can
I
get,
fill out.
yeah. I was afraid, honestly, when I started it, I was like, Maria, well, all I'm gonna be doing is stuff as contest chair. And she's like, well, yeah, you get credit for that. And I said, well, what about the area director? She goes, you get credit for those. So she's opening it up wide. I'll give you a little side for people who don't know it. If you've done a Moments of Truth, you get credit for it. If you get a Moments of Truth in your club, or if you go somewhere else, there's a lot of areas to get credit for. You can get creative with it. So it's a great opportunity to get, if you're a volunteer, to get credit for volunteering and or to recruit people if they're part of the program. Now, checklists. In terms of checklist, I highly suggest you use a checklist. I will go ahead and send it to you as part of this package at the end. A checklist that Troy developed years ago. It's a good background. I have developed my own that I use. It's a lot more in detail, but it helps you keep yourself straight. Remember, we talked about before that I'll get with you to Christine in a moment. This helps you keep track of what you need. So checklists are great. So yes, Christina.
I just had a quick question going back to filling functionaries for the contest. As the
Okay.
Division D director, am I restricted in any way if I'm asked to be a judge for a contest? Like, does it need to be a contest outside of my division?
Awesome question. There are no, you cannot be a contestant, but you can be a judge.
Okay. And same thing with any other of like my area directors.
Mm-hmm.
they can be a judge at other contests, not their own.
They could be a judge at their own, but it's a lot harder. It's better for them to be a chief judge or a chair.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of, because again, you have to remain anonymous and it's sort of hard to remain anonymous and to be out there. Alright. So resources. There, this is a copy of the newest rule book. This is also available on the district website. We have scripts. I need to check with Amanda to see where she is on the scripts. Follow the scripts. Tamara, did you find the scripts helpful? I know you've used them yesterday. Did you find them very helpful on it? I'm leading in
They
my
were not
question
only
there.
helpful, they were everything. That came right on time. I was so happy that I gave you a call and you came right through from me, and I used exactly, I printed it off at and used the exact one that you gave me. So thank you very much.
So these scripts, so you don't have to pretty much make sure that you say the things you're supposed to say. We would prefer you to stay to script. Because again, it helps you remember to say certain things about keeping the doors closed, recognizing the certain things you're supposed to say. So that's what the scripts are available for. And the paperwork in terms of really important as contest chairs, that you make sure everything is done correctly. So the contestant certification, make sure they've completed all those forms. Last thing you would want is somebody to complete their certification form or not to compete and you don't have a certification form for them. The other reason also is they're certifying that they're following the rules. We did have one case many years ago in which somebody wasn't following the rules. Unbeknownst to me, I was a chief judge. I didn't know some of this information. And I won't go into too much detail, I don't want to call her out. She's still a Toastmaster, great Toastmaster. And she certified that she was available, or she certified this, and I had the form, and turned out she was wrong. But by signing that form, we're like, sorry. So she got herself disqualified because of that. Judges' forms are really important. In the past, we have used a online judges one. That is not available. So if you've heard about the console, don't use it. If you haven't learned about the console, you don't learn anything. We are not allowed to use the console. So that's part of it. You have to use the judge's form. You will want to print those out. I love the console.
So everything has to be paper.
That is correct. Yes. It
No.
specifically says no electronic forms can be used. Ugh.
And that's for the in-person contest, not the online ones?
Well, even online is theory. What you can do is you can take pictures of it, but yes, I'm sorry, good question. You can take pictures. I guess it doesn't have to be it would not have to be automatically use the forms, but you can't use this beautiful console that was done where you hit the button. So people are still going to have to sign their forms. Sorry about that. I probably led you astray on that one.
Is that a TI rule or a Div 84?
It's a TI rule, yes.
Oh.
So no
It says-
digital signatures.
Yep, digital signatures are approved. So if you know Adobe, if you're an Adobe geek like myself and you know how to sign things in Adobe and you can have available, yep, and there's a way for you to get that copy, you can do it as well. They do allow for digital signatures.
Okay, so I'm confused. What's the console then?
I don't want to go off too much, but there was this beautiful console that was developed somewhere in California, in which you went ahead and you signed everybody up and everybody got the details electronically. So there was no sending information to the ballot counter, and it was really cool. I loved it, but we're not allowed to use it. It was cool.
Okay, so
All right,
to clarify, so the forms, we can email the forms to them though, correct?
Yes.
And they can fill them out. And if they have the ability to do the digital signature, they can do that, correct?
And then they would have
And
to
then-
somehow get it to the ballot counter, whether they could need to do a screenshot or a digital photograph. That is correct, yes.
Okay, and then you said we have to print them out to have paper?
Well, remember, these are the area you're in person, so yeah, it's probably better that if everybody does have the paper, but if somebody really wants to be in person and use and vote on their phone, they can using a Adobe version of the form.
Okay, I'm sorry, this was for the judges. My mind is going to the contestants. So, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yes, yes, the contestant, I'm sorry, I should have, so the contestant form should be ahead of time. And that can be
Right.
signed electronically or however they want to sign it.
Okay,
And the judge's certification, same thing. It's just the judge ballot that should be.
Yes. And I recommend you take extra copies of the certification forms with you to your contest. Just in case you need to grab judges out off of the floor, have the form so you're ahead of time. So, and I actually had this happen to me last year, that some of the judges didn't show up and they're like, hey, can you be a judge? Hey, can you be a judge? And I'm like, I don't have a form. And they had them printed out and they handed me one and said, here's a form, take one. So take some extra eligibility forms with you and print them out. So in case you need somebody at the last moment, you have them. Little things that come up. All right, so the question is, who can compete? So big important information. The contestants must be paid member and the club has to be in good standing. So good, especially if you've got those clubs that are 7 people or less, the day they compete, they have to be in good standing. So they may have some time, unless you've got a January 1st club area contest. You need to tell these people, your clubs that are on the edge, that date that you compete, you yourself must be in good standing, and your club must be in good standing. You have to maintain that eligibility. So once that club is in good standing, they got to stay that way. They can't have somebody stay and the next day somebody leave. It's got to continue. Now, another thing I found is you can't compete in the same contest at different areas. I've seen it happen in terms of where people, well, I'm in many clubs. Let's just say I'm in a club in District 84, and I'm also a member of a club in District, I'm going to make something up, 72. I have no idea where 72 is. Well, I want to see how far I can make it. So I love it. I'm going to compete in the table topics in 84, and I'm going to compete in the table topics in 72. Nope. That actually did it, and nobody said anything. At the time I questioned it, I was just a member. It specifically says that you have to. So if people want to do it, if you're in various districts, I'm going to compete in table topics here, and I'm going to compete in international somewhere else. So if you hear of people doing that, stop them. You can only compete in the area. So if I decide I'm table topics, I've got to stay in table topics in that area. I can't go to even different divisions or different areas. Let's say I want to compete. I do have clubs. I'm in a couple areas. I want to compete in area 82 and I'm going to compete in area 51. Nope. I have to choose an area and move it forward. Does everybody understand that? I know it's a little confusing. People try to judge to get the system. You can't. The clubs, they do it, and I'm not really great, but once you've decided from area and above, whatever area and district you're going to compete, you have to stay in it.
Yeah, that's just specific to that category.
Correct, yes.
That one category. Because I know we have different categories, and so they could be in different categories, but it has to be in one category in one area division. Like it's just the one that they represent, and that's it for that category.
Yeah, and I could switch, so I could do if area 81, I could compete international speech, but then wherever Finds Your Funny, last year it was in 51, I could compete in table topics in that one, yes. All right, so also continuing on, and so this came up, international, so in the other ones, there is no minimum. Anybody could compete in table topics, even if you've been a Toastmaster for one day, you can compete. For The international speech, this is the answer to Tamara's questions earlier, you have had to completed levels 1 or 2 of any path, and 2, not an or, there's a difference there, or be a DTM. So DTM meaning you could have a DTM in legacy, or you have done levels 1 and 2 in a path. Now, I know some of you are areas like, well, wait a second, I've got some new clubs in my area. This isn't fair. Okay, TI knows that. So they're saying for clubs that have chartered for less than a year, there's no minimum. So if you have that club that's coming in, we're not going to say, hey, you need to be a level 1 or a level 2. You can compete. There's no minimum. So that's a really cool idea. So
Sue,
is
uh,
eligible. Sorry, go ahead.
can you go back one slide, please?
Absolutely.
Is it that they have to complete levels 1 and 2, or they just have to complete 2 levels? Because in the old way, you could.
The way it's
Levels on-
specifically stated is it's levels 1 and 2. Great question.
Thanks.
So so ideally, that's an interesting way of looking at it. It's could they have completed 3 and 4, but the rules say 1 and 2.
The new pathways, you have to complete them in order, but in the old pathways, you could do them out of order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sue, can you go back one more slide before that one?
Uh-huh. That answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so if you're not certain, there is a thing called an eligibility tracker, and I'll send you a link to this. This is something that I highly regard looking up, because this is going to tell you if a member is eligible. So here's an example. I put myself in there. It's a weird, you got to put that PN exactly how it's shown in there, or it won't work. It's pretty picky. Hopefully you as area and division directors will have access to the member ID, and you can check yourself. If you're curious what it looks like, you can check yourself, and that's what I've done, and I'll show you. So I decided to see if I was eligible. I think this was last year. And it said, so if I wanted to compete in transformation, it will show that the club, so it says, it will make sure that it says the 2 things that I've highlighted. So transformation, the member, yep, the member has paid, so yes, she's good, and the club is good. So those are the information that you should really be checking on your contestants to know if they're eligible. I think some of you especially will know it's your area, but the division, the district is where it really becomes important, is that I don't know everything out there. So the district, the people at the district contest will be really using this to make sure. But I think most of you already know what clubs are having issues, but there is a way of figuring it out. All right, so the judges.
Sue, one quick question. Where's that contest eligibility tool?
That actually is on Toastmasters International, and I'll give you a list of links, and that will be part of one of the links.
Fantastic, thank you.
Good. Thing right here. So judges. All right, so we know about a contestant, what a contestant can and cannot be, how they have to be. Now, of course, you as deck members cannot be contestants, but judges, the way it's stated, is a judge must be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months. So they can't just be on day 1. And they have to have, how it's stated, completed a minimum of 6 projects in the competent communicator manual, or earn levels 1 and 2 in any path. It's a little odd, but that's how it states. So in other words, the legacy program, if they've done legacy program for competent communicator, it's probably competent communicator, not communication, but and then levels 2 and 3, so they can do it. And you have to be physically present. So in other words, I can't be on my phone, but via Zoom, that's why we have to be there. So I can't just say, well, I don't want to be there, or I'm going to look at it taped, or I'm going to be on my car looking at it. No, you actually have to be physically present. Now, if you're voting on the online competition, yes, you may be on your phone at the time. But in terms of how that's, so the physically present again is mostly for the ones that you actually have to have, you're going to be in person. Right, so the announcement of winners, this is a big one that always confuses people. All right, so hopefully this is part of the script. You're going to state, number one, if there was any time disqualifications, not who did it. Vicky Goodman disqualified for time. No. I had 1 time disqualifications. I had 0 time disqualifications. Then you're going to be stating it in the order, and assuming you have this many people, the 3rd place, the 2nd place, the 1st place. Yes, it's awkward when you have 2 different people. This is the order you're supposed to do them in. I don't like it you can tell. It's like, really, there's 2 people. Can we not just announce the winner the first time? But officially, this is the way you're supposed to do it. And then filling out the form. So here's the notification of contest winners that hopefully you should be getting from your clubs. You complete this. So once you as an area director have had your contest, be nice to your division director and fill this out and submit it. Division directors, please be nice to me and the people that I'm going to have as my chairs. Complete this form and send it on, because I can guarantee you I will come find you for these lists, because this is how I know who's competing at the next level. So they seem like very minor forms. They can be filled out in person, they can be filled out in ink, but please, please, please fill them out. I hate to go around and say, hey, Beth, did you complete that form? Beth, I didn't do this last year, so she knows. Beth, can you please fill out the form? Beth, can you please fill out the form? Be nice to whoever the next person is and fill out those.
Do the club forms need to go anywhere, or do they just like?
The club form should be going to you as the area director.
And then they stop there, though.
And you can rip them up because, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have the information, so it couldn't hurt. I mean, that stops there, but since you already have like all the information, such as the club number and so when if the people move forward, you can cut and paste it to the forms.
Yep.
But as in terms of, you'll just hold on to them. All right, so recognition.
Sue, I have a quick question with the time disqualifications.
Okay.
In the past, all the contests that I have been to, they've never announced who was disqualified.
That is correct. You shouldn't be. I'm sorry, I confused you on my thing. So all you're going to be stating is I had 1 time disqualification. Oh God, I had 0 time disqualification. That's what they should be showing. They shouldn't be saying the names.
Are the one who was disqualified though, are we allowed to tell that person? Like outside of the contest?
Yeah, that would be fine. They usually figure it out, to be honest. And they usually know. They know. Those people usually are aware of it. But yes, if they may come up to you and say, hey, Chief Judge, wait a second, why didn't I make it? And you're like, sorry, Andy did this to us
Okay.
last year. Sorry, Andy, you were disqualified due to time.
Yeah, I saw one that he was disqualified in. He was,
Yes, it's hard.
I know, it was like, oh my gosh, he was so good. And he went over by a few
And
seconds.
we actually had somebody last year, and you think it doesn't happen, but we had somebody at the district. He made it as far, and I had people who've seen it, and we all knew he went over, but at the district level, getting up there and gets disqualified for time, and he probably would have placed.
There were
It
2
doesn't matter.
disqualifications at the international level this
Yes.
year.
Yes.
Or, I mean, yeah, at the international level.
So
which,
yes, people get disqualified for time. It happens, and they say they blinked out and they never saw the timer. Yes.
well, I was just curious if we could let them know, because people have wondered, okay, did I go over time? I always thought we couldn't let people know, but it's helpful to them, I think, if they know that.
Yeah, and I said as long as they come, if you do it one-on-one, you don't make the
Yeah,
announcement.
okay.
But if people are wondering, yes, you as the chief judge, are allowed to say, yeah, sorry, you made it on time.
Yeah, okay.
So for recognition, we have either you can do certificates. To be honest, can't stand here it is, the Toastmaster has certificates of participation. They're ugly, but you can use them. If you want to give out trophies. Or display, was I trying to, oh, yeah, and then you have to also realize in terms of, well, you're in person, so, but in the online contest, in terms of, do you really want to send them, so all the other information, so these are just ways to recognize your people, your participants. So now you're like, okay, oh my golly, I don't even know where to start. These are just some ideas. So between now and the 31st, especially for the area directors, these are the things you should be working on. Finding a location, booking that location if you can, figuring out a date, and getting that list of contestants from your clubs. I know some clubs are still competing. It's getting late, but they're good. So start bothering I would either say your VPEs or your presidents. Hey, can I have a list of the contestants? Because you want to know how many people, because this will give you an idea how long your contest is, and start getting your functionaries. It's not too early. I mean, I would say maybe for the district, I'm sorry, for the division, it might be too early, but at least start thinking about it. Who is your chair going to be? Who's your chief judge? Getting those forms, getting the eligibility. Every time I've always done it, you think you've got time. Oh, I've got 2 weeks. I got plenty of time. And life happens. And so the more you can start getting things in motion, and if life happens, you've got that extra time involved in it. So, and my next one is, I'm going to say, and this I speak from a few days before, go ahead and walk through your section if you can. If you can get access to your site, go for it. Go try to figure it out. As I was telling you before, when everybody's telling you, well, this should be here and this should be here, walk through it. Go, okay, I think I'm going to have my lecture, if at all possible. I know these are pie in the sky ideas. This is where I should have it. And I'm going to have my cast looking at me as my hands are raised. And I should have the speaking area here. So when the day of the event comes, you're sort of already ready to go. Excuse me, young man. If at all possible, you can hold your briefings. You can do those online, or you can do them on person. It does allow you to hold briefings the night before if you want to. It's always good to do it so you're not doing it the day of. As I said before, arrive early, set it up, and breathe. Area directors, and I've been there, you forget to breathe. Just take a breath, enjoy it. To be honest, this is the time. This is the time to shine. This is your time to show it. And you don't need to say, I didn't have to hook up the computers. You don't have to hook up the computers. That is one nice thing about being on person. One, for people who have been there, doing a hybrid contest is a pain in the arse. It's great that everybody's involved, but it is difficult. There's a lot of steps involved. You don't have to do that this year, so enjoy it. And in the list of resources, which I have the wrong one, excuse me, but I will send it to you. It really does have the rule book. It has a link. It has a link to in the contest page. So this is information in terms of that I will send. So does I know that was a lot of detail on that. Your heads are spinning. Remember, you're eating the elephant. So little bites at a time. This is more, I'm showing you the elephant. And then go from there. Yes, Debbie.
With the online contest, what did you recommend for awards? Because we have to
You
mail
can
all those.
well, we do have I think some people have bought some of the trophies, and you'll have to send them out, probably send them, or you can do that. The Toastmasters certificates that they have available that I think are ugly.
I
They should
think
be
the first
this-
place contestants should get the same for the online, should get the same as your first place in persons.
I
Yeah,
think that's how Amanda had set it up, correct, yes.
Yeah.
So not all I want to say Division B decided not to buy trophies. Everybody else, I think you already have whatever trophies you've requested. Your division director was given your trophies.
Yep.
I think it's B decided to go rogue. I'm gonna call it rogue, sorry. They decided to do their own thing, which is fine. But you will have to possibly mail the trophies to somebody, which is,
You can also give them a background, a Zoom background that says winner,
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So
postable.
again, that's a lot of like drinking out of a fire hose, but again, and the idea behind it is I'm available for questions on my phone number. I can put that in chat and feel free. So feel free to reach out to me with questions. I may not know the answer. I know, stalking, no, but there are weird things with rules. Anybody who does rules for a living, everybody has a different opinion on them. Even on a regular rule that talk about a dock, how big a dock should be. Believe it or not, everybody has different opinions on certain things of that. So it might be something where, ooh, that's a really good question. Let me elevate it to the trio and the trio can determine, and they can determine if it's good or not. There's weird things that happen. And every so often, like last year, we had one and it was like, oh, whoa. We had actually a really good discussion on the way home for one of them because somebody pushed it. And so even the bunch of us, we had myself, Vicky, who was the director, the PQD, Felicia, myself with the book, and Amanda calling it in. We were debating on something. So it's not clear. Yes, Tamara.
This may be sound, last night when I did the contest, and then you saw Earl opening up the meeting, he's actually was being chief judge that night. But you have contest chair and contest master. What's the difference? Like if I'm gonna lead, I'm contest chair. So what if the contest master's doing though? Because that's what he had me as last night. I also led it though. He just opened the meeting as chief judge, maybe because we had a small contest
You
last
can
night.
at the club, absolutely. And I've seen it at an area where the contest master and the chair are the same person.
Okay,
But it could be different roles. The chair is the one who's pretty much doing everything, is sort of bringing in the people, finding locations, doing again, this DTM project type of stuff, finding a location, finding food. The master is the one who gets up there, blah, 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 blah. You can be the same person. It's just one more thing for you to do. But I would like, a chief judge probably should be different than that.
okay.
Club
Thank you
level,
very
I get it.
Okay, thank you.
So the master is like the MC, master of
Absolutely.
ceremony.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're like.
We used
Toastmaster
to
of the
call
day.
it a contest I can't remember. I think they call it, I think in the rule, even though we call it the contest master, the rule book calls it the contest Toastmaster. So I
Officiant.
probably, I should be consistent and start calling it the contest Toastmaster. But yes, it is the person who gets up there and introduces all the contestants and everything.
Got it, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
So again, at the club, yeah, we know at the club you do what you can, but the rule book is pretty much where the rule book starts coming in is from area and above.
Mhm.
And things come up. So you may think you have a really stupid question. It's okay. Send it to me, call me, email me. I think most people have my email address, but I'll put it in the chat as well. It might be something that we've had before, like, oh, it does sound like a simple question, but here's something in the past that we've learned, and it's not as simple as this, or here's how we've determined it in the past. Because it's that, especially the one that talks about moving people forward if your division likes, or if your district, and that gets everybody every year. It's like, no, it's okay. That is a very confusing rule. I wish they took that out. Because you get excited and then there's that little caveat at the bottom. Oh, okay. Yeah, so again, the idea behind it is I'm not expecting everybody to be experts. It's more of I just wanted to expose to this various things like, oh, okay, yes, there are requirements, and again, have fun. And afterwards, if you like it, plan to have an adult beverage because you probably are gonna want it. Plan ahead. Don't if you're gonna have have something cold at home. I'm not a drinker, but believe me, I think after that one, I was ready to have my adult beverage. And to be honest, on mine, I'll tell you, is I had planned all this, everything, and we were all at home. It was online, only online, had everything, had all my people in effect. We're sitting down, I'm sitting down, yeah, everybody ready. I was supposed to be contest master. My power goes out. My power stayed out. We had a line down, it went down. My power stayed out the entire time. So there I am calling. I was like, thank goodness I had set everything in motion and I had people who, I had everything. I was like, look, there's nothing I can do right now. I may or may not be, I didn't have power for like 3 hours, no internet, no nothing. So things happen. So that's why to have those, there's the case of life happening. So as much as you can have ready to go, and then you just have to let it stay in motion. I was not happy. I couldn't even leave to go anywhere because the line was down. I had one street in and out, so I couldn't even run to like the library and go get on a computer. I was stuck at home. So that was really hard for me to do nothing.
I have another quick question. You know, for the online contest, I wanted to just have all my area directors hold their online contest in one date, and we'll just go one after the other. So since it's just one contest, I was thinking it wouldn't be any more than what, 45 minutes for
Shouldn't
each
be.
area?
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, it shouldn't be, that's going to be a short one. It's just going to be, now make sure you gavel down, you finish that one contest, you announce it, and then you move on. So yeah, that shouldn't be too bad. Especially they're 5 to 7 minutes. And yeah, that one I foresee not being very long at all. If you ever have any questions, and the big thing is to go ahead, if you ever have questions, go to Toastmasters International. So when in doubt, if the form seems funky or there seems to be something right, always go to Toastmasters International and pull the most correct one down. The big thing is also just if you're looking at old rule books, is it also helps to look at last year's winner. So if it should be this year, the picture should be the African American woman. If it's anything else other than the African American woman, you got an old copy of the rule book. And next year, whoever wins, their picture. Their picture is going to be on the front cover.
Thank you, Sue. I appreciate
All
it.
All right,
Good night, y'all.
again, any questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and give Christy the coast rights and I will leave. My cats are surprising, only one of them got starving.